We decided you're not my type, so we're done, my wife announced in front of her friends. So I said, thanks for the group decision, and left, while they all panicked immediately. Sup Reddit. My wife's friends voted me off the island at a coffee shop ambush. 4 women, 1 table, 0 shame. They expected me to beg. Instead, I said, thanks for the group decision, and walked out with screenshots of everything they'd been planning for months. I, 37 male, met my wife Brielle, 35 female, at a mutual friend's housewarming party 9 years ago. We'd been married for 7 years, and honestly, most of it was solid. Really solid. She was ambitious and driven. I was the steady project manager who knew how to make things happen. We clicked. I handled the practical stuff, mortgage, bills, keeping our lives running, while she built her consulting business. It worked. We worked. I wasn't the flashy guy who needed constant attention. I was the guy who showed up every day, fixed things around the house, and actually listened when she talked about her dreams. Then, about a year ago, something shifted. She joined this new professional development group, which turned out to be Kendricks, Sloan, and Zara. Suddenly, she was coming home later, dressing differently, talking about leveling up her network and optimizing her personal brand. Her friends went from occasional brunch companions to constant presences in our life, always in her ear, always pushing her towards something I couldn't quite see. The woman who used to curl up on the couch with me for movie nights started treating our home like a hotel. I ignored the red flags because after 7 good years of marriage, you don't expect your wife to suddenly turn on you. I thought she was just going through a phase. Then came the day. Brielle texted me that morning asking if I could meet her for coffee after work. Nothing weird about it. We used to do that all the time. I actually thought maybe she wanted to reconnect, talk things through like adults. So I showed up at this coffee shop downtown, expecting my wife. Instead, I walked in and found her sitting at a table with Kendricks, Sloan, and Zara, all 4 of them, waiting for me like some kind of intervention panel. I sat down. Vaughn, we need to talk. About what? I asked. Brielle finally looked up, wearing that fake concerned expression she used when she was about to fire someone at her boutique consulting firm. This isn't working anymore. The marriage, us, the whole situation. She waved her manicured hand between us like our years together were just some failed product launch that didn't meet quarterly projections. We've been talking. We? I interrupted. Kendricks leaned forward, already slipping into her corporate speak. Vaughn, honey, we can all see you're not happy. Brielle deserves someone who actually appreciates her growth journey. Growth journey. Right. That's what we were calling it now. Sloan nodded, doing her best therapist impression. Someone who matches her energy, her vision. You know? She paused like she was waiting for me to have some breakthrough moment. Zara didn't even look up from her phone, angling it like my marriage ending was content she could monetize later. Her thumb kept scrolling. Yeah, like, you guys are totally on different wavelengths now. It's actually sad to watch. I stared at these 3 women who'd apparently held a board meeting about my marriage. So, this is a group decision? I asked. Brielle had the decency to look uncomfortable for about 2 seconds. It's not like that. I think it's better if we end this before someone gets hurt. Before someone gets hurt. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. So who is he? I asked quietly. The table went silent. Kendricks and Sloan exchanged glances. Zara actually looked up from documenting this disaster for her followers. Vaughn, Brielle said in that condescending tone that made me want to walk into traffic, this isn't about anyone else. This is about us not being compatible anymore. Compatible. I nodded slowly. After 7 years of marriage, you've suddenly decided we're not compatible. People evolve, Sloan offered helpfully, like she just solved world hunger. Relationships run their course, Kendricks added, smooth as a performance review. It's actually really common, Zara concluded, like she was reading from a self-help book she found in a bargain bin. I looked around at these women who appointed themselves judges and jury of my life. Brielle sat in the center, letting her friends speak for her, validate her, give her permission to blow up everything we built together. Well, I said, standing up and reaching for my wallet, thanks for the group decision. Really appreciate the democratic approach to ending my marriage. I dropped a 20 on the table and walked out, leaving them sitting there in stunned silence. Through the window, I could see them huddled together. I was almost to my car when I heard Kendricks' voice carry through the open patio door. See? Look how he didn't even fight for you. Just walked away like none of it mattered. Sloane's voice joined in. That's exactly what we were talking about. No passion, no effort. He just gave up. Girl, you made the right call, Zara added. A real man would have at least tried. I stood there for a second, keys in hand, listening to them rewrite reality in real time, turning my refusal to beg into proof that I never cared. Classic move. I got in my truck and left them to their narrative. 7 years of marriage, and she couldn't even do it alone. But they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the quiet guy who pays the bills. The drive home gave me 25 minutes to process the absolute circus I just witnessed. 7 years of marriage ended in a public coffee shop with an audience of women who treated my life like their personal soap opera. My phone buzzed. Celeste, my sister. How are you? I'd mentioned Brielle and I were having issues, but I hadn't told her everything. Not about Cade, not about the late nights when Brielle would come home smelling like cologne I definitely didn't own. Not about how she'd started treating me like furniture, useful when she needed something, invisible the rest of the time. Like a public execution, I texted back. She brought her friends. Are you serious? Dead serious. Full committee. They had talking points. That's insane. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I'm not. And I wasn't. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by this cold clarity I hadn't felt in months. I pulled into the driveway and just sat there for a minute, looking at the house we bought together 4 years ago. The mortgage was in both our names, but I'd been making the payments since Brielle's consulting business started experiencing challenges 8 months ago. Funny how she had plenty of money for new clothes, expensive dinners with the girls, and that weekend trip to wine country she took with potential clients. I headed to my home office and started making lists. Bank accounts, credit cards, subscriptions. She had 6 cards feeding off the joint account like a parasite with autopay. That meal delivery service she used 3 times and forgot about. The yoga app, the meditation app, that expensive gym membership she hadn't touched in months. Then I remembered the iPad. We had a shared iPad for household stuff, grocery lists, shared calendar, recipe apps. It lived on the kitchen counter and we both used it. I grabbed it and opened the Messages app. It was still synced to Brielle's iCloud account. She'd never bothered to set up separate profiles or turn off the sync. Every text message she sent from her phone was sitting right there on our shared device. I had my suspicions about who the other guy was. Cade, trust fund kid with the vintage Porsche and the carefully practiced smolder. I'd seen him at a few of Brielle's networking events over the past 6 months. The way she lit up around him, how she'd started dressing differently after those events, staying out later for networking dinners that somehow always included him. I'd ignored it because after 7 years of marriage, you don't want to believe your wife is capable of that level of betrayal. But I wasn't wrong. I started scrolling. The messages with Cade went back 4 months. Nothing explicitly physical at first, just excessive compliments and inside jokes. Then it escalated. Plans to meet up, complaints about her boring husband who doesn't understand her vision, discussions about when she should leave me. I took screenshots of everything, methodically, date stamps visible, full context, saved them to a folder on my computer, then backed them up to 3 different cloud drives. But the real goldmine was a group text thread labeled The Squad, Brielle, Kendricks, Sloan, and Zara. I scrolled back 5 months and started reading. Kendricks. So when are you actually doing this? Can't keep stalling forever? Brielle. I know, just need to time it right. Make sure everything's covered. Sloan. Financially? Brielle. All of it. Can't look like the bad guy. Zara. You're not. You're just unhappy. He's holding you back. More scrolling. Brielle. What if he gets angry? Kendricks. Public place. He won't make a scene. Sloan. Thursday afternoon. He'll be tired after work. They'd choreographed everything. The coffee shop location because it was public. The timing because I'd be mentally exhausted. Who would say what? What Brielle should wear. I screenshotted everything. Every message, every plan, every moment they discussed how to manipulate me. Created a folder on my computer. Evidence greater than group text, greater than the squad. Backed it all up. Then I went through our phone bill. Brielle's number. 5 months of itemized calls and texts. The pattern was obvious once you knew what to look for. Late night calls to Cade's number. Texts sent at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Days when she claimed to be at client meetings but spent 4 hours on the phone with someone who definitely wasn't a client. I documented it all. Made a spreadsheet. Call duration, time of day, frequency. The data told a story she couldn't explain away. My phone rang. Brielle. Vaughn, we need to discuss logistics. Her voice was different now. Not the sad, sympathetic tone from the coffee shop. This was business Brielle. Logistics? The house? The accounts? How we're going to handle the separation. I'm staying at Kendricks's tonight, but we should probably meet with legal representation soon. Get everything formalized properly. Sure. Whatever you think is best. She paused, probably expecting more of a fight, more emotion, more begging or anger or something she could use against me later. Okay, good. I'm glad you're being mature about this situation. Mature. If she only knew what I was looking at right now. I'll come by tomorrow around noon to grab more clothes. Will you be home? I'll take a half day. I've got some things to sort out anyway. Okay. Thanks for making this easy, Vaughn. Really. After she hung up, I opened our bank statements. Joint account showing every transaction for the past 6 months. Hotel charges on weekends she claimed to be at conferences. Restaurant bills from places she'd never mentioned visiting. A jewelry purchase for $800. I never received any jewelry. I downloaded everything. The next day, I was at the house and throwing all of Brielle's stuff into black trash bags. Clothes, shoes, makeup, all that decorative junk she bought that I never liked anyway. Piled them by the front door like garbage day came early. My stuff? Locked in my office. Grandfather's pocket watch. Dad's signed Lonesome Dove. My Xbox. Photo albums from before I even knew her. All secured. She showed up at noon. Cade's Porsche in my driveway. Real subtle. I opened the door before she could use her old key. Stood there blocking the entrance. She had this rehearsed expression on her face, like she'd been practicing sad victim in the mirror. Vaughn, I'm just here to get my things. Let's keep this civil. Already done. I pointed to the trash bags. Everything's packed. Take it and go. Her face shifted. The sad victim thing disappeared real quick. Excuse me? You threw my belongings in trash bags? Your belongings? Trash bags. Seemed appropriate. Cade got out of his car. Walked up like he had any business being there. Hey man, let's all just stay calm. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This guy thought he was smooth. Thought he could play friend while sleeping with my wife. Who invited you? I'm just here to help Brielle move her stuff. I am her friend at the end of the day. Right. Just a friend. That's the story we're going with? Brielle's mask cracked a little more. Vaughn, don't be dramatic. We are just friends. Dramatic? I've got hotel receipts, text messages, credit card statements. You've been sleeping with this guy for 4 months. At least have the guts to own it. She went silent. Cade looked uncomfortable. Good. So here's how this works, I said. You take your bags. You leave. He stays in the car because he's not stepping foot in my house. I'm not taking my things in trash bags like some what? Like someone who cheated on her husband? Too late for dignity, Brielle. She tried a different angle, pointed past me into the house. I'm taking the coffee maker, and the kitchen table, and those throw pillows. No, you're not. I picked those out. I paid for half. Funny thing about that, I've got receipts for everything. Dates, amounts, which card was used. The coffee maker? I bought it 2 years before I met you. The table? Wedding gift from my aunt? The throw pillows? Fine, they're in the bags. Everything that's actually yours is already packed. Her voice went sharp. You can't just decide what I get to take. I'm not deciding anything. The receipts are. The purchase dates are. But hey, if you want to argue about it, we can wait for the cops. I've got all day. Cade put his hand on her shoulder. Tried to look supportive. Brielle, maybe we should just take what he packed and sort this out through legal help. I laughed. Oh, now he's giving advice. Tell me, Cade, you always help your friends move out of their marriages? Or is this a special service? I don't know what you think is going on. I think you're trespassing. I think you've got about 30 seconds to get back in your Porsche before I call the cops and let them sort out why my wife's affair partner is on my property uninvited. He took a step back. Actually took a step back. This guy who'd been bold enough to sleep with another man's wife couldn't handle a direct confrontation. Brielle, I'll wait in the car. Just like that. Walked away. Didn't even try to stand his ground. Brielle watched him go. Her face went from shocked to furious in about 2 seconds. You're a coward, she hissed. You're petty and controlling, and you'll regret this. I'll regret finding out my wife's been lying for 4 months? I'll regret not letting you rob me blind? Sure, Brielle. I'm the bad guy here. Everyone's going to know what kind of person you really are. Good. Tell them. Post it on social media. Tell all your friends. Let everyone know that when you cheated, I didn't beg you to stay. Let them know I packed your stuff in trash bags. I'm fine with that story. She grabbed 2 of the trash bags. Struggled with them. Too proud to make 2 trips, trying to carry everything at once. You'll hear from my legal team. Looking forward to it. Mine's already got copies of everything. She stopped. Turned around. You recovered my texts? Cloud backup is a beautiful thing, especially when someone doesn't know how it works. I could see her mentally scrolling through every message she'd sent, every detail she'd shared with Cade and her friends, every lie she'd told. Her hands were shaking when she picked up the last bag. Goodbye, jerk! Goodbye, biatch. She loaded everything into Cade's trunk. He didn't even get out to help. Just sat there in the driver's seat looking straight ahead like a guy who just realized he'd signed up for way more drama than he wanted. They drove off. I watched until the Porsche turned the corner. Then I went back inside, locked the door, sat down at my kitchen table, the one my aunt gave us, the one Brielle tried to claim, and finished the inventory list I'd started that morning. My phone started buzzing 20 minutes later. Mutual friends asking what happened. Apparently, Brielle was already posting vague stuff about toxic men and emotional manipulation. I let her post fiction while my legal team stapled it to facts. I just forwarded everything to my legal representation and let the receipts do the talking. Over the next few weeks, my boss called me into his office. Vaughn, we need to discuss something sensitive. I sat down. His expression was off. Not quite angry, not quite uncomfortable. That corporate blend of concern and legal caution that meant somebody complained about something. What's going on? HR received a complaint, anonymous, but it involves allegations of inappropriate workplace behavior. My stomach dropped. Not because I'd done anything, because I immediately knew who was behind it. What kind of allegations? Harassment, creating a hostile work environment, making female coworkers uncomfortable. He slid a folder across his desk. These are serious, Vaughn. I have to follow protocol here. I opened it. The complaint was dated 2 days ago, 48 hours after I kicked Brielle out. The details were vague but damaging. Claimed I made inappropriate comments, stood too close to women, made them feel threatened with my aggressive demeanor. All nonsense. I worked in project management. My team was 6 people, 3 of them women who I'd worked with for 4 years. We had a good dynamic. Professional. 0 issues. This is fabricated, I said. That's what we need to determine. Until then, you're on administrative leave. Paid. Standard procedure during investigations. How long? Could be a week. Could be 2. Depends on how quickly HR can interview everyone involved and review the evidence. HR wanted a story, and she handed them a blank script with my name on it. I drove home trying to process it. Brielle had actually done it. She'd tried to destroy my career because I wouldn't let her take my coffee maker. The pettiness was almost impressive. My phone buzzed. Her number showed up on caller ID. She'd hidden it initially, but when I called back, it rang through to her voicemail. Bet you regret being such a jerk now. Should have just let me take what I wanted. Could have avoided all this mess. But you had to be difficult. Actions have consequences, Vaughn. Screenshot. Saved. Backed up. She thought hiding her caller ID would cover her tracks. Didn't realize I could still trace it back. But that text was everything. Proof she was behind the complaint. Proof she'd weaponized HR as revenge. I called my legal team. Explained the situation. Sent them the text. This is admission of malicious interference. And if the complaint's proven false, she's opened herself up to serious liability. What do? Nothing. Let the investigation run its course. Document everything. And when HR clears you, we use this as ammunition in the divorce. The next 8 days were torture. I couldn't work. Couldn't focus. Just sat at home knowing my reputation was being dissected by people who didn't know me. My coworkers were being interviewed about incidents that never happened. My boss was probably wondering if he'd missed red flags about me all these years. I kept checking my phone, waiting for updates. My legal team told me to stay off social media. Don't respond to anything. Don't defend myself publicly. Let the investigation play out. Easy advice to give. Harder to follow when you know someone's actively trying to destroy your life. Meanwhile, Brielle was posting cryptic messages on social media. Things about standing up to toxic men, finding your voice, supporting survivors. Every post had dozens of comments from people who didn't know the full story. Didn't know she was talking about a fake HR complaint she'd filed as revenge. Kendricks, Sloan, and Zara were all commenting with heart emojis and empowerment messages. The whole thing was a performance. Theater for an audience that had no idea they were watching fiction. I screenshot every post, sent them to my legal team. They added them to the growing file labeled Evidence of Malicious Intent. Celeste called me every day, checked in, made sure I wasn't spiraling, reminded me that the truth would come out. Easy for her to say. She wasn't the one on administrative leave wondering if her career was about to implode. On the 8th day, my boss called. Come in tomorrow. HR wants to meet. I showed up at 9. Conference room. HR director, my boss, and a woman from the legal department I'd never met. Mr. Hayes, we've completed our investigation, the HR director said. We interviewed your entire team, reviewed security footage, examined your email and chat history. We found no evidence supporting the allegations. In fact, every single person we spoke with vouched for your professionalism. The relief hit me like a truck. So I'm cleared? Completely. You'll receive full back pay for the leave period. This will not appear on your record. We take false accusations very seriously and will be looking into who filed this complaint. I know who filed it, I said, and I can prove it. I showed them the text. Brielle's number was traceable despite her attempt to hide it. The timestamp matched up. The content was explicit. The legal woman didn't look shocked. She looked annoyed, like Brielle had wasted billable hours. This is your ex-wife. Soon to be. We're separated. She wasn't happy about how I handled moving her stuff out. HR didn't look excited. They looked tired. They told me to keep documenting everything and let their legal team handle the workplace side. My attorney sent Brielle a cease and desist for harassment and interference, and I made a police report for harassment, so there was an official paper trail if she kept trying to mess with my job. My legal team was practically giddy when I called them. This is perfect. Between the affair evidence, the false HR complaint, and her admission via text, she's got zero leverage in the divorce. We're going for full separation of assets. She walks away with what she brought into the marriage and nothing else. What about the house? You've been making the payments. You can prove it. Judge will likely award you the house in exchange for giving up some other asset. But she's not getting anything she's claiming she deserves. Over the next month, the divorce papers hit her. I had them served at Kendrick's place. Professional process server. Knocked on the door at 8 in the morning and handed them over. Brielle called me screaming 30 minutes later. You're suing me? Are you kidding right now? Not suing, divorcing, big difference. You know what I mean? This says I owe you damages for the HR thing. That's insane. That's what happens when you file false complaints. Actions have consequences, Brielle. You said it yourself. I never admitted to anything. Funny. I've got a text that says otherwise. My legal team has it. HR has it. The police have it. Everyone except you seems to understand how evidence works. She hung up. The next call came from her legal representation 3 days later. Much more professional. Much less screaming. Mr. Hayes, I represent Brielle Hayes. We'd like to discuss settlement terms. I'm not interested in settling. Perhaps we could arrange a mediation session. Work out an agreement that's fair to both parties. Fair would have been her not cheating. Fair would have been her not trying to destroy my career. So no, we're not mediating. See you in court. I hung up on them too. Discovery was beautiful. My legal team subpoenaed everything. Phone records showing months of contact with Cade. Credit card statements showing hotel charges and expensive dinners. The texts with her friends planning the whole thing. The admission text about the HR complaint. We laid it all out. Every lie. Every betrayal. Every manipulative move she'd made. Brielle's legal team tried every angle. Argued she deserved half the house value because we bought it together. My team countered with payment records showing I'd covered the mortgage solo for 8 months, while she spent our money on affair hotels and designer handbags she thought I wouldn't notice. They tried to claim she'd sacrificed her career for the marriage. My team pulled up her consulting business records showing she'd barely worked in the past 8 months. Too busy with Kate and her friends to actually maintain clients. They tried to paint me as controlling. My team showed texts where she bragged about spending my money without asking, where she laughed about hiding purchases from me. Every argument they made fell apart under actual evidence. Judge wasn't impressed. I could see it on her face. That look judges get when they know someone's wasting the court's time with nonsense. Then there was Cade. Court records are public, and somehow the case number found its way into his family's orbit. A few weeks later, he got pulled off anything client-facing and stopped showing up to the same events Brielle dragged me to. The Porsche vanished from her stories not long after. She tried to play it off like he was busy, which is corporate code for he ran. Brielle tried to stay with him anyway. Showed up at his place with her trash bags. He turned her away. Told her he couldn't handle the drama anymore. That his family was more important than whatever they had. She ended up at Sloane's place. Then Kendricks's. Then back to Sloane's after they had a falling out about borrowed money that never got paid back. The friend group imploded. Kendrick started blaming Brielle for dragging them into her mess. Zara stopped answering texts. Sloane told her she needed to figure out her life and stop using people's couches as permanent solutions. And the funny thing is that they were posting their mess online. But the real consequence came when Kendricks got called into her own company's compliance office. Turns out when you're named in divorce filings for coordinating manipulation and affair logistics, corporate employers get nervous about liability. Her texts, the ones where she planned the coffee shop ambush, suggested timing, coached Brielle on optics, got subpoenaed as evidence of premeditation. She wasn't fired, but her promotion got delayed indefinitely. Risk management flagged her file. Turns out group texts don't look empowering when a judge reads them out loud in discovery depositions. Meanwhile, the divorce moved forward. Judge ruled in my favor on basically everything. I kept the house, kept my retirement accounts, split the joint savings 50-50, which wasn't much because Brielle had burned through most of it on her affair lifestyle. She got her car, her personal belongings, and the knowledge that the HR stunt didn't help her case. The judge didn't need a dramatic speech, just the timeline and the text. Her consulting business tanked because her reputation was trashed. Clients don't love hiring someone who's publicly documented as a cheater and a liar. Turns out professional networks care about character. By the time the divorce was final, I was single. She was broke, friendless, and living in an apartment she could barely afford. I didn't celebrate, didn't feel victorious, just felt relieved it was over. 8 months post-divorce, I was doing fine. Better than fine. The house was mine. My job was solid. I'd started seeing someone new. Nothing serious yet, but Natalie was fun and normal and didn't have a crew of enablers telling her to blow up her life. We had a date planned. Dinner at this Italian place downtown. I was getting ready, ironing a shirt, when someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking. Pounding. I opened it. Brielle. Intoxicated. Mascara running. Wearing sweatpants and a jacket that looked like she'd been sleeping in it. Vaughn, I need to talk to you. No. I tried to close the door. She shoved her foot in the gap. Please. Just 5 minutes. I made mistakes. I know that now. But we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. We're divorced. Move your foot. I was wrong about everything. Cade, my friends, all of it. You were the only good thing I had, and I ruined it. She was slurring, could barely stand straight. The smell of cheap booze rolled off her in waves. That's rough. Anyway, I've got plans. Plans? What kind of plans? The kind that don't involve you. She pushed against the door. Not hard enough to get through, but hard enough to be annoying. Is it another woman? Are you seeing someone? What I'm doing is none of your business. We're not married. You don't get updates on my life. I still love you. I actually laughed. You love me. That's hilarious. You loved me so much you cheated for 4 months. You loved me so much you tried to get me fired. Really feeling the love, Brielle. I was confused. They told me I deserved better. They said you were holding me back. And you believed them. That's on you. I had nowhere else to go. Nobody wants me anymore. Kendricks won't return my calls. Sloan said I burned too many bridges. Even Zara blocked me. Sounds like they finally figured out what I knew all along. You're a user. You take and take until there's nothing left. Then you move on to the next target. She started crying. Full breakdown, shoulders shaking, snot everywhere. Please, I'll do anything. We can go to counseling. Start over. I'll be better. No. That's when Mr. Donnelly came out. My neighbor. Retired postal worker. 73 years old. Gave zero cares about anything except his lawn and his peace and quiet. Excuse me, miss, are you bothering this young man? Brielle turned, tried to compose herself, failed miserably. Her makeup was smeared halfway down her face. This is between me and my husband. Ex-husband, I corrected. I'm not leaving until we talk this through, she said, volume rising. Mr. Donnelly didn't raise his voice. He raised consequences. Stood there in his bathrobe and slippers like a bouncer at a country club. The man had survived 30 years of postal service. An intoxicated ex-wife didn't intimidate him. Miss, you're creating a disturbance. Intoxicated and disorderly on private property. I've already called the non-emergency line. Police should be here in about 10 minutes. Brielle's face went white. You called the cops on me? I called the cops on a public disturbance. You're shouting, stumbling around, harassing a resident. That's what we do in this neighborhood. We maintain standards. Standards? I lived here for 4 years. And now you don't, Mr. Donnelly said flatly. Property rights terminated upon divorce. You're trespassing. I'm not harassing anyone. I'm talking to my husband. Ex-husband, I said again. You people are insane, she said. Insane is showing up intoxicated at someone's house 8 months after you cheated on them, I said. Insane is thinking I'd take you back after you tried to destroy my career. Natalie's car pulled up. Perfect timing. She got out, saw the scene, and stopped at the end of the driveway. Vaughn, everything okay? Brielle's head whipped around, stared at Natalie like she couldn't process what she was seeing. Who is that? My date. Natalie, this is Brielle. She was just leaving. Natalie nodded politely but stayed by her car. Smart woman. Brielle looked between us. Her face did this thing where she cycled through about 6 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, anger, Jealousy. Despair. You replaced me already? I didn't replace you, I moved on. Big difference. With her? Really? She's not even— Careful, I interrupted. Say something stupid and it'll just prove I made the right choice divorcing you. Mr. Donnelly cleared his throat. Police are 2 minutes out. You should probably move along unless you want to add an intoxicated and disorderly to your evening. Brielle looked at me one more time, like she expected me to suddenly change my mind. Invite her in. Call off my date. Pretend the last year never happened. This is really it? You're not even going to consider— It was really it 8 months ago when the divorce was finalized. This is just you finally accepting reality. She backed away from the door, nearly tripped over her own feet, caught herself on the railing. You're a cold person, Vaughn, you know that? No empathy, no forgiveness. I'm a person who learned his lesson. Don't cheat, don't lie, don't try to destroy someone's career. Pretty basic stuff. Red and blue lights appeared at the end of the street. She saw them. Panic set in. Fine, I'm leaving. You'll regret this someday. Doubt it. She stumbled to her car, an old Honda with a dented bumper and mismatched panels. The Porsche days were long gone. She got in, fumbled with her keys, and somehow managed to start the engine. The police car stopped behind her. 2 cops got out, saw her in the driver's seat, saw the way she could barely hold her head straight. One of them knocked on her window, started talking to her. She tried to explain, tried to justify. They made her get out. Field sobriety test. She failed spectacularly. They cuffed her, put her in the back of the patrol car. One of the cops came over to talk to Mr. Donnelly and me. She been bothering you? She's my ex-wife, I said. Showed up intoxicated. Wouldn't leave. You want to press charges for trespassing? I thought about it. Looked at Brielle in the back of the patrol car. Head down, mascara everywhere. The same woman who'd sat in that coffee shop with her friends and announced my marriage was over. No, just get her out of here. The cop nodded. She's getting an impaired driving charge. That's enough trouble for one night. They drove off. Brielle in the back. Mr. Donnelly went inside. I grabbed my keys and walked over to Natalie. So that was interesting, she said. That was my past. Won't happen again. She seems lovely. She seemed lovely once. Then I married her. Natalie laughed. Well, I'm glad you're divorced. Otherwise, tonight would be really awkward. It's already awkward. True, but at least we've got good stories for dinner conversation. We left. Had a great meal. Laughed about the absurdity of the whole situation. Natalie didn't ask too many questions about Brielle or the divorce. Didn't try to fix anything or analyze anything. Just accepted that sometimes people's exes show up intoxicated and desperate, and you call the cops and move on with your life. I got home around midnight. House was quiet. No intoxicated ex-wife on the porch. No neighbor in a bathrobe defending property lines. Just peace. My phone had 17 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. Probably Brielle from the police station. I blocked it. Checked my email. Confirmation that the divorce settlement payment had cleared. She'd finally paid what the judge ordered. Took her 8 months and probably wiped out whatever savings she had left, but she'd paid. I sat there in my kitchen with my coffee maker and my table and my grandfather's pocket watch on the counter. Everything I'd fought to keep. Everything she'd tried to take. Worth it. Every single part of it. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.